Hi, my name is Tyler Church, and this is my submission for the ethics final project of the semester. I decided to do my project on Kantian ethics and capital punishment. I was originally going to do utilitarianism, as I feel like I hold similar beliefs, as well as I think it's just an all around easy thing that I can talk about. However, Kantianism has a couple aspects focused on human life that I thought it'd be interesting to talk about capital punishment. As we will soon learn, this was a terrible idea, and Kantianism is not easily defendable when it comes to capital punishment. But we'll get there. And apologies if I'm going to be looking this way a little bit. I don't have like an actual word for word script, but I have a general idea of what I want to talk about that way. I'm just not totally all over the place. Off the bat, with the definition of Kantianism in my own words, it is a non consequentialist set of ethics that deals with ideas known as categorical imperatives. These imperatives are ideals that should exist for everyone in all similar circumstances. An example of this is if stealing is wrong, stealing should be wrong in all circumstances, even if there's some outlier, such as maybe they're stealing in order to benefit themselves or the greater good. Being a non consequentialist theory doesn't take the ends into account, only the means. Um, Another thing that ties into Kantianism is something known as the mean end principle, which states that all people have intrinsic value and we should not manipulate them to further our own goals. Having intrinsic value kind of becomes an issue when we talk about the death penalty. And of course, my ethical issue is the death penalty, which is applied to people who commit extreme crimes, including but not limited to murder, treason, espionage, large scale drug trafficking. It's a very controversial topic, and it has been since its conception. And Kantianism has some unique ways to view it. On a side note, Kant was a follower of the Ius Tolenus, I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm not great with Latin. But it essentially means eye for an eye, back with Hammurabi's Code. Kant personally believed that murderers should receive the death penalty, which kind of goes against some of his teachings that we learned throughout class, but we'll get to that. One quote that I have here is, in Kant's view, human life is valuable because it is the life of a rational being. To put it crudely, human life is valuable because it is the vehicle we use to exercise our freedom. Um, Kant was very big on the freedom of the soul, and by committing murder via capital punishment, we're taking away that freedom, which in and of itself kind of disproves his beliefs. But three reasons that I've written down for uh, strengths for capital punishment in Kantianism is that murder is immoral as per categorical imperative. Therefore, punishing a murderer with murder is technically moral. Homicide, he talks about this a little bit. It's different from murder, as murder requires malintent. For example, maternal infanticide or abortion, and even dueling are both examples of honorable homicide. As these are separate categories, the penalty can be more strictly applied. The final reason I have is actually a quote from a scholarly article I used throughout my research paper. Um, I was surprised with how much information I was able to find on this because it seemed like such a uh, taboo topic to talk about with Kantianism, I guess. Um, but the prospect of severe punishment pressures authorities to punish in accordance with strict retribution. Since taking a life is one of the worst possible crimes, it will be punished very severely, and thus legal institutions cannot risk the flexibility and judgment involved in proportional punishment. If murder is one of the worst possible crimes, it is important to treat it as justly as possible, and this requires the use of the strict version of the Ius Tolenus. Basically, just to put it in layman's terms, like how I explained earlier, if somebody commits murder, there's not necessarily a punishment that can equate to that other than murder itself. A couple of reasons I have against Kantianism. First, Kantianism holds human life to an extremely high degree, and the death penalty takes away from the right to life, freedom, and then whatever undeserved evil you inflict upon another within people that you okay, whatever undeserved evil you inflict upon another within the people that you inflict upon yourself, which is a quote from the Ius Tolenus, which directly counters Kant's argument for the death penalty. Um, Kant himself swore that the death penalty was a necessity to have in the state's arsenal, but unfortunately, Kantianism has many things going against it when it comes to defending the death penalty. Um, I think taking Kantianism into account when talking about death penalty, it's extremely interesting because a lot of ethical theories they have ways to loop around maybe death penalty being allowed. while you see other forms of murder not being allowed, or ethically allowed, I guess you could put it. But Kantianism is very strict when it comes to that. Human life has intrinsic value, and there really isn't a whole lot we can do against it. Going through this research essay, I've sort of shifted my opinion from the death penalty, honestly. I was originally very for it. I think that there's a lot of money that we spend on private institutions that hold people that could just be put to death, and it would be cheaper and technically safer. I don't want to get into that. But after reading through all this, I mean, taking away someone's right to life is indeed a very steep punishment. And throughout this research project, it definitely enlightened me a little bit. Sorry that this is so sort of patched together. I have a list of 8 or 9 sources, I forget which, all of which say what I'm saying much more eloquently than I can. But I hope this paper fits what you were looking for, and I hope you have a great rest of 2021. Thank you.